and examples of companies that are practicing CSR, or what they call CSR, and what most marketing professionals would admit is nothing more than shady marketing or clever marketing under the cloak of CSR. Here in India, we've been approached by a number of companies who have enlisted the services of our CSR practice group. And sometimes it's pretty clear that their intentions are tainted, either by a need to influence some people through CSR, or to increase their sales in some cases, or even to deflect the problems that they're facing by stakeholders, by NGOs, and by government departments. So they see CSR as a way to get out of a problem. And that, to us, is something that we are always careful and mindful of when we're advising and counseling our clients. We always make it clear that CSR cannot be used to mask the issues or to make their problems go away. And we do this by explaining that doing CSR incorrectly, or CSR light, as some people request us to do, can actually harm their brand. See, the point is that if CSR is done badly, or if it's done for the wrong reason, it can harm a brand as much as doing good. So really, it's important to understand that a company that tries to use CSR to benefit the brand for purely commercial reasons is more likely to end up exploiting it. Now, I've learned that there are many shades of corporate responsibility, and there are good and bad actors on all sides of this discussion. It isn't possible to apply a single solution to every single situation that companies face. Each must be looked at in their own terms. Look at the true nature of the problem, look at the root causes, the resources that are needed, and then to build a CSR program around that, and a program that aligns with the brand that the company is trying to communicate as well. One common element that's successful to the best CSR programs that we've worked on and we've seen across the world is that a company uses their core practices of their business and applies CSR to the core part of their business. If it's not part of the central strategic planning process, it will almost probably be ineffective. An example is something called Plan A, which is the corporate social responsibility platform from Marks & Spencer, the British retailer. This is what they call their CSR program. And Plan A is a product of many years of effort to look at the full life cycle of its products. It's been integrated into the core strategy of the company. It's one of the 5 strategic initiatives and is a key deliverable for the board. So every board member working at Marks & Spencer's understands the core component of CSR and the deliverables that they have to deliver, whether it's the CFO, the marketing director, or even on the HR level. So what Marks & Spencer has done is built it into the core of their business. And here, the best example that I've come across, and I'm sure there have been many case studies written on this, and I'll go into a little bit of detail about this, is Tata and how they've used CSR, how they've injected it into every one of its businesses, and how the CEO of each business has to account for CSR work just as much as they have to account for corporate governance, or finance, or talent. Tata shows its commitment to social responsibility in a very unique way. And I want to just sort of elaborate on some of the things that they've done and what they're doing now as well. One thing that we've discovered, having worked with Tata organizations, is that they've been practicing CSR before it was even called that. And it goes all the way back to 1892 when Jamshedji Tata set up the J.N. Tata Endowment Scheme. Tata realized that many young, promising Indians were unable to realize their full potential as future leaders because of a lack of funds. So the endowment scheme has included beneficiaries now that include a former president, scientists, playwrights, and artists. And with the endowment scheme, Tata was doing more than just building future national leaders. He was laying the principles that would guide the Tata family on a program of philanthropy with no parallel in Indian corporate history. The point is that Tata realized that CSR is a long-term game, and that it can't be treated as a short-term achievement. So what is unique is that Tata built a philosophy that says it doesn't just have to give, it has to give to build, and build for the long term. That's the core of what they built all the way back in 1892. And what he didn't want to do was to practice what he called patchwork philanthropy, that just gave out handouts. He argued that this kind of handouts had its place in society, He acknowledged the importance of that as well. But what he also felt was that the expertise and resources of businessmen like him and his organization were better employed developing the leaders and larger projects that would have a longer-term impact on the national welfare. And today you see that with organizations like the Gates Foundation or the Goldman Sachs Foundation. They're putting their money into CSR programs, but alongside money, they're putting the best of their people, the best skills that they've learned, the best practices that they have, and providing the leadership that focuses all those energies and the money into pure CSR programs. So going back to Tata, for seeing the importance of that science would play in the new century, Tata pledged half his personal wealth for the creation of a top-line education institution for science. And in 1911, this was realized with the Indian Institute of Science, which is the precursor of all the IITs that have helped to change the nation and helped to spawn a lot of the companies that we read about now. And over the years, other family members of Tata have done the same. They followed on that tradition that was laid down at the time, creating a constellation of trusts, endowments, foundations, all that support an amazing range of activities. Whether it's the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, the Tata Institute of Energy Research, the Lady Tata Memorial Trust, all of these going into rural development programs, the NCPA promoting arts, all of these came from that vision of using CSR in a holistic way. The other thing about Tata Trust is that the family bequeaths the financial resources to the Tata Trust so that they now control around 66% of the shares in Tata Sons. Again, that's very unique in any example around the world. So that in every Tata enterprise, a large percent of the profits are bound for philanthropy, and that the best of their people help to guide how that's used. What this doesn't do is let individual Tata companies off the hook when it comes to CSR. The philanthropic philosophy that's at the core of the Tata business has been embodied in every one of the Tata businesses themselves. We work with TCS, and at the center of a lot of what they do is philanthropy, promoting talent, promoting development centers in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, bringing in resources from other parts of the country and training them. So that core ethos of CSR has been built into companies like TCS and Tata Motors and many of the others as well. One rough estimate puts that the total value of CSR activities from these Tata Trust and companies counts for around 30% of the group's profits after tax. And moving back to the central point of my presentation, this work has directly and indirectly benefited Tata brand itself. So this isn't just about philanthropy or CSR for the benefit of the wider society, which was the core ethos, but it's actually helped the brand itself. So that now when you think of a Tata business, you're almost automatically associated with positive messages of trust, of reliability, commitment, ethical practices. And even recently, many commentators have said that a Tata business could never do something that you've seen in companies like Sasra. So this leads me to some basic guidelines that we feel organizations should consider and adopt if they're going to practice CSR and benefit their brands at the same time. Because that's really the core of it. Organizations are willing to do good in societies like India, but at the same time they want to see the benefits that they will get for their brands. So